The whole gang's here.
Yeah. Okay. Just need a piece of ID, please.
It's also from Montreal. Montreal, Mrs. Mai from Montreal. And from Toronto, from Mississauga, and former legislative from Vietnam is Singh.
And the Saskatchewan contingent?
Sorry, we don't have Saskatchewan. You have to work on it.
Okay, where shall I sit? Right here?
No, you sit over there. You have
Because I have to, leave to catch a plane.
What time do you leave? Oh, the round table is 1 o'clock. No, you're going to come
Thank you for making your way to Parliament Hill on this cold Ottawa day. As Senator Tanhaino's policy advisor, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to this roundtable discussion on the South China Sea territorial dispute and the final peace accord. À titre de maître de cérémonie, il me fait grand plaisir de vous souhaiter la bienvenue à la table ronde sur le conflit territorial en mer de Chine méridionale et l'accord de paix final de Paris de 1973 sur le Vietnam. And now it's my great honor to introduce you the Honorable Senator Tanhaino as the moderator and host of today's roundtable, the Honorable Senator Lang, Chair of the Standing Committee of National Defense and Security, the Honorable Senator Audrey-Chuck, Chair of the Standing Committee of Foreign Affairs and International Chair. We're expecting at any time now the Honorable David Kilgore, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons and State Secretary for Asia and the Pacific. Mais il me fait également plaisir de vous présenter deux membres du comité organisateur de cette table ronde, le professeur Ngọc Bích et Maître Lâm Chấn Thọ, ingénieur avocat. Distinguished guests, chers invités, I suggest we quickly go around this table in order to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves. Now I will start on my left with Professor Bích.
Yes. My name is Ngọc Bích. I'm the chairman of the National Congress of Vietnamese Americans. Yeah.
So my name is Sinh Van Ho, and
President for that West Republic of my name is nhân, former Congressman of Republic of Vietnam. I am now an English refugee, political refugee in the United States. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Vuphong Nguyen, and I'm a physician, but I'm also the chairman for Vietnam for Progress, which is a think tank for democracy, freedom, and universal rights.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vuphong Nguyen. I'm from Toronto. I'm a lawyer and teach the law teachers.
I am Dr. Nguyen from Montreal. I also happen to be a lawyer. I am the legal counsel for the Vietnamese community of Greater Montreal.
I am Shan Binh, member of the community, Vietnamese communities in Montreal.
Mon nom c'est Nguyen. Je suis retraitée et je travaille dans la communauté vietnamienne.
Mon nom est Yann. Je suis ex-présidente de la communauté vietnamienne à Montréal.
Je suis Dr. Giáo, président du comité exécutif de la communauté vietnamienne du Canada de la région de Montréal.
My name is Vuphong is the member of Vietnam Congressman.
Je suis Nguyễn Thanh, Việt Nam Cộng hòa Việt Nam. My name is Vuphong Nguyen, a member of a Vietnamese community in Montreal.
My name is David Lemehi. I'm a law professor at McGill University in Montreal.
Mon nom est Sĩ Ngô Nguyễn. Je fais partie de la délégation de maître Lâm Chấn Thọ.
Mon nom est Nguyễn, président de l'association pour la défense du patrimoine vietnamien à Montréal.
My name is Benoit Benetou. I'm a lawyer in Montreal, and I'm with the Maître Lan Chantal delegation.
Bonjour, mesdames, messieurs. Je suis Lan Chantal, de profession ingénieur, pratiquant et avocat. Et le sujet d'aujourd'hui me passionne depuis quelque temps. Alors, ça me fait plaisir de pouvoir partager avec vous mes connaissances.
Thank you very much, and I just wish to remind everyone that our discussion is, sorry?
The people at the back too. Yeah.
I'm Vuphong. I'm from Toronto. Thanks.
I'm Văn from Toronto Community, Vietnam.
Good morning. My name is Dang. I'm a member of the Committee to Support Democracy and Human Rights for Human Rights Movement for Vietnam, Toronto.
Good morning. My name is Lâm Chấn Thọ from Toronto.
My name is Nguyễn, member of Vietnam Cộng
hòa. Hello everybody. I am Vuphong Nguyen, all Lieutenant Navy Vietnamese South Vietnam. Thank you.
Hello, my name Việt Nam Cộng hòa. Văn Sinh.
My name is Lê Văn Hai. I am the officer of Medical Corps of the Republic of Vietnam.
Hello, my name is Mr. To Tran from Toronto.
On that side?
My name is Nan Nguyen. I'm here from Ottawa.
My name is An Song.
My name is Can Lê. I'm former Secretary General of the Vietnamese Administration and from Ottawa.
My name is Nguyễn Duy Vinh. I am a retired person.
My name is Ngọc from Ottawa.
My name is Vuphong from Ottawa.
Hi, my name is Vuphong from Ottawa.
Dear Jane from the Vietnamese Canadian Senior Association in Ottawa.
Hi, my name is Anthony Ho, and I'm a volunteer at Senator Doe's office.
Timothy Doe, student assistant to Senator No.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tanya Wood, and I'm a special assistant for Senator No.
Thank you very much. And
Welcome to everybody. On my right here we have, I will begin the Senator Lang. He's the chair of the Standing Committee of the National Defense and Security. And Senator next to my right as well is Senator Andrew Chuck. She's also chair of the Standing Committee of Foreign Affairs in the Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable colleagues, distinguished legislative members of the former Republic of Vietnam, and dear friends, it is with great pride and pleasure for me to welcome you to the Senate of Canada. J'ai le plaisir de vous souhaiter à tous la bienvenue au Sénat du Canada. Plusieurs d'entre vous ont été voyager bien très loin. Votre présence ici aujourd'hui est grandement appréciée. Today we have the great opportunity for us to examine the solution that aims to manage the ongoing conflict in the South China Sea. Most particularly, we shall explore in the greater details how Paris Accord may act as a mechanism to frame this escalating issue. Over last year, we know that the conflict in South China Sea has escalated because of overlapping territorial claims. The dispute over the territory and sovereignty of the Spratly, along with the adjacent Paracel Island, has endured at least 3 centuries and has recently arisen as a key geopolitical issue in South Asia. That issue is potential for both Spratly and Paracel to have vast reserve of natural resources. The area is one of the region's main shipping lanes and is home to a fishing ground that provides thousands of people with a livelihood. The heightened tension between several nations may at any time flare up into a regional conflict that could involve outside powers. It is my hope that we can engage in the constructive dialogue in order to further explore the complex nature of this issue and increase awareness of this conflict in the South China Sea by providing guidance and clarification. This is indeed a timely discussion. At the moment, the Standing Senate Committee on the National Security and Defense is currently studying and reporting on national security and defense issues in Indo-China Pacific relations and the implication for Canada national security and defense policy practices, circumstances, and capabilities. And as a proud member of the Senate National Security and Defense Committee, chaired by the Honorable Senator Daniel Lang here, I'm honored to promote Canada's growing role in the region and to encourage a peaceful and legal solution to the ongoing maritime conflict in the South China Sea. As a moderator and host of today's event, I'm proud to have some of my colleagues from the Senate join us today. I know some of them will be appearing and disappearing throughout the day to attend their busy schedule, and I'm thankful for them that they are giving us some their time to be here with us. Also, I am pleased to announce that we are going to join by some other members, honorable colleagues from the House of Commons, and good friends of mine, and good friends from the Senate to join us today. It's the MP, Parliament Secretary Vivek O'Brien. He is the Parliament Secretary for Foreign Affairs and Human Rights. And the Honorable Tim Uppal, Minister of State for Multiculturalism, will be joining us briefly. Both, as you know, will appear quickly and disappear after lunch. I wish them they will try to be here between them here and then. I also have the Mr. David Kingo, the Honorable David Kingo might be here. He told us yesterday he's going to be here. And he's the former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons and the Secretary of State for Asia and the Pacific. It's very grateful, he's a very old friend of mine, and we worked together for nearly 30 years. And my policy advisor, they worked very hard. I thank them for the staff. They worked very hard to make this event realisable. Basically, merci pour votre présence aujourd'hui. Et I'm looking forward to today's discussions. I would like to meet my colleague here, Senator Lang, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Senator No, and I'd like to begin first of all by welcoming everybody here to Ottawa. For those that have traveled here from places like Toronto, Montreal, and a very special welcome to those that have traveled from the United States. Very much appreciate your interest and the fact that you're prepared to put your time in to come and share what your knowledge with us in respect to the situation in the South China Sea. When it comes to the South China Sea, as you all know, it's an area of concern to Canada. It has been an area of concern for many, many years, and it's very clearly delineated in the document you have before you, Canada's involvement from the outset. And the fact that Canada was and is prepared to play a part in looking towards a peaceful solution to that particular area of the world. It has to be a very major concern to all of us around this table in respect to the fact that what is taking place there now is starting to become an area of the world that, although it doesn't necessarily get the media coverage that it should do, a very significant area of the world that could cause some international problems for all of us. Fortunately for Vietnam, Vietnam does have company, as we all know, like the Philippines, Indonesia, all the other countries that surround that are affected by the interest that's being exhibited by, in this case, the Chinese, as far as the who has the territorial rights to that part of the world. So I would say this is that I think this is probably a very good time for a discussion such as this in respect to looking at what Canada can do over and above what they already are in respect to trying to bring the parties together to come to a peaceful solution. Because it's to nobody's interest to have these conflicts going on and causing the political and economic instability that falls out from that. So I'd like to say that, just to conclude by saying that we're going to look forward to seeing at the end of the day what suggestions you would have for Canada. I'm very pleased with Senator Noel that he has also representatives from the House of Commons that will be coming and participating throughout the day, because I think it surely shows that there is a great deal of interest by the government in respect to our involvement here, and it has not got lost in respect to all the other responsibilities that government has taken on. So with that, I would like to say that we just conclude by saying that we do have our terms of reference with the Senate Committee on National Security and Defense to do an overview of the Indo-Asia Pacific area of concern, obviously in our capacity with respect to our naval responsibilities. And that's an area that is ongoing for us as an area of study. And obviously South China Sea, which is a concern, and it actually brought up at a conference that I attended in Victoria a month ago. And so with that, I would like to say, Senator No, I very much appreciate being invited, and I'm very pleased to have Senator Anderchuk here as well, having been chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee for a significant amount of time in the Senate. And she brings a wealth of information and a wealth of knowledge in respect to not just this part of the world, but the world in general. So with that, Senator, thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Lang. Now I would like to invite Senator Anderchuk, Chair of the Standing Committee for Foreign Affairs and International Trade, to say a few words.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation. And thank you, Senator Lang, for your kind words, but also the fact that you covered some of the area that I might, and that makes my job a lot easier. We have a difficulty as senators because we do come from long distances, and I come from Saskatchewan. Fortunately, I think Senator Lang is staying this weekend and has that opportunity. I unfortunately have commitments in Saskatchewan. I've delayed them, so if you see me leave, it's no disrespect to any of you or the issues. It's simply I had previous commitments, but I wanted to respond to Senator know because he's a valued colleague, and I wanted to pay my respects to you and to let you know that you have a very vibrant community in Saskatchewan, and future conferences should reach out a little further so that all can receive the information and give their points of view. So I think that's important to let you know that you're significant across Canada as a community, and your advice and information is very important to any of us working on the Hill. Fridays are also a very difficult day, so that's why I think there aren't that many members of Parliament. We're finishing up our session, and the House is sitting extended hours, we're sitting extended hours, so we do the best we can, and on behalf of many of my colleagues, thank you for being on the Hill, and we welcome you. I'm just going to say that two things. One is that the Senate Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Trade has been studying Asia Pacific from an economic point of view, a political point of view, and a security point of view. We embarked on the study some time ago to see how these issues are interrelated, because we sometimes work in silos and work on political issues or security issues or economic issues. Increasingly, we need to bring them together. And that's my comment to say that what Senator Lang will be doing is a supportive issue to what our study is. We've completed our study in Canada, and we will be traveling to Asia Pacific very shortly and finishing our report. I hope that report will be of benefit to you. The territorial dispute issues have been brought to our attention, and they will form part of our study and perhaps some of the recommendations. The other comment that I want to make is from my other international work that I do. There is an issue in international relations now, and that is territorial integrity and sovereignty. They have not been issues that have been questioned much recently. We spent 100 years and more building these concepts as international concepts, and some of us had hoped that they were in battles. David, you're over here. These issues we thought were now issues that would not be discussed or questioned on territorial integrity. But as you see what is going on around the world, and particularly with great emphasis on Ukraine, the issue of territorial integrity and sovereignty are being again challenged and questioned, and the international community is having to respond. So your study and your seminar today, disputes are human beings who are vulnerable, and therefore I just want to underscore that. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. It may even find its way into our report. So I thank you for being here and giving me the opportunity to listen to you and to share with you.
Thank you, Senator Andrzejczyk. I would like to introduce to you here the Honorable David Kilgore. He's the former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, and he was also the Secretary of State for Asia and the Pacific. David and I, we've known for more than 30 years. We worked together for more than 30 years, and he's a very, very, very good friend of the Vietnamese community in Canada. Welcome, David, and thanks for your presence here today. I just asked Senator Lang to say a few words. I'll just ask Senator Andrzejczyk to say a few words. Now I'm asking you if you have anything to say a few words before the people, they will present their presentation of the issue of the roundtable agenda.
Well, just maybe a couple of things. I'm sorry I'm late. I would have liked to have been here earlier. Just some of you may know, and certainly you do, Senator, know that two of us went to Vietnam, 4 or 5 years ago. And ladies and gentlemen, they gave us a 3-day visa. It seems to me that's pretty clear. They don't want you in the country for very long. And on the first day we were there, we were trying to get some prisoners released, And first day we were there, we had lunch, and then the next day, you'll find this hard to believe, but we were asked to play golf with two people from the foreign ministry. And I have to tell you, they beat us overwhelmingly, which maybe was a good thing, because on the third day, we had to leave the country. But the prisoners got released. And as you and I talked about this, I don't know whether other prisoners were released too, so it may have just been a coincidence, but we like to think that it perhaps did some good. The fact that one of the people we were playing golf with came to be the ambassador to Canada from Vietnam about 6 months later may have had something to do with it. And the fact that the Prime Minister of Vietnam came here, remember 2000. Can I just say one word on the Paracel Islands? These are some notes from a talk I gave at the Chinese Embassy earlier this year, and I don't think it'll surprise anybody that the company that's doing the drilling is Sinopec, which you probably all know has taken over Nexen, which I think is unfortunate, very unfortunate. But because Nexen was one of the most ethically responsible petroleum companies we had in this country, and now it's owned by Sinopec. I think, like all of you, the presence of numerous Chinese escort vessels well within the 321-kilometer exclusive economic zone of Vietnam, in accordance with the international law of the sea, is unfortunate, very unfortunate. It's a violation of Vietnamese sovereignty, and I take it we're going to talk a lot about that today. So those of us at the rally, Mr. Chairman, were calling on Beijing to cease and desist from attacks on Vietnamese patrol ships, already resulting in injuries to several Vietnamese sailors. We urge the Chinese government to resolve this binational conflict peacefully through the United Nations or other international tribunals. And the lack of sufficient concern in Hanoi is a causa causans for the current Paracel Island situation, it seems to me. We urge the government of Hanoi to take stronger measures to protect Vietnam's legitimate land and sea rights. And just in conclusion, I hope nobody will disagree with this, that the Vietnamese have a long tradition of independence. Separation from China was obtained in BC 939. The Americans left defeated in 75, but many contend that Karl Marx and Marxism are so European as to be never acceptable to most Vietnamese. Vietnam has improved its standard of living only since abandoning some measures of Marxist economics. Amartya Sen put it succinctly, freedom and development are inextricable, close quote. Between 78 and 81, hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese fled their homeland, with many eventually settling in Canada. Today they are active and successful in virtually all occupations and regions of our country. Most of the voluntary community organizations across Canada oppose the unelected regime in Hanoi, in part because it has, quote, destroyed genuine Vietnamese culture. They seek to restore their culture. In conclusion, the party state in Beijing should abandon its bad neighbor policies both with Vietnam and other countries. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And now I would like to want Dr. Nguyen to present the paper.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having this event. I would like to give my heartfelt thanks to Senator Lowe and the committee from the Parliament to receive us and have this event today. I'm very privileged to be able to present the letter from Mr. Le Jean-Flac, who lives in Paris, France, and due to his age and his health, he is regrettably not able to join us today. Therefore, I will read his letter for you. He was the former Minister of State for the Republic of South Vietnam. He was also the chairman of the Interior and Defense Committees at the National Assembly of South Vietnam, and also justice at the Constitutional Court for South Vietnam. Therefore, I feel that his letter will bring some of the point of views from a key member of the former executive branch of the South of Vietnam, who is still alive at this point. So this letter is addressed to Prime Minister Harper, but is also to Okay, so I would like to direct your attention to section D, where the letter is in English, and then behind that is in French. to His Excellency Stephen Harper, the Prime Minister of Canada, regarding appeal of the Vietnamese people for self-determination. Dear Mr. Harper, the Iron Curtain has fallen on Vietnam twice. The first time, in August of 1945, the Vietnamese communists forced the abdication of the Emperor Bao Dai, who had just regained full independence for Vietnam following the surrender of the occupying Japanese forces. The First Vietnam War, often referred to as the Indochina War because it extended to Cambodia and Laos, was ended by the Geneva Accords in July 20th, 1954. These accords temporarily partitioned Vietnam into two zones, the North and the South, with the demarcation line along the 17th parallel. The accords called for the establishment of a democratic regime and a national reunification election with universal suffrage 2 years later. Instead, the North Vietnamese communists established a Stalinist totalitarian regime and created a bloodbath in North Vietnam, killing more than 100,000 people in the longest and most barbaric agrarian reform in history of 53 to 56. Nearly 1 million terrified North Vietnamese took the first opportunity provided by the Geneva Accords to flee to South Vietnam. This was the largest exodus in the entire history of the country. But the communist leadership, still hungry for power, was actively preparing for a second war, with the ultimate objective of conquering the South and expanding into Laos and Cambodia. The first treaty was quickly violated, plunging the Vietnamese people into a second tragedy, which would last another 2 decades from 56 to 1975. The second time, on April 30th, 1975, the North Vietnamese communists completed their invasion of the Republic of Vietnam. In doing so, they flaunted the Paris Peace Accord of January 27, 1973, which had been aimed at ending the war and restoring peace in Vietnam, as well as the final act of March 2nd, 1973. The communists, as the government of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, had signed the final act, along with 11 other governments, including France, the United States, United Kingdom, Soviet Union, China, Canada, Poland, the Republic of Vietnam, South Vietnam, Indonesia, Hungary, and the National Front for the Liberation of South Vietnam, which was created by the North Vietnamese as a puppet and was dissolved by then 1 year after the invasion of South Vietnam. In the presence of the Secretary General of the United Nations as well. The accords were signed with a view to end the war and restoring peace in Vietnam on the basis of respect for the Vietnamese people's fundamental national rights and the South Vietnamese people's right to self-determination, and to contributing to the consolidation of peace in Asia. For nearly 40 years now, the Vietnamese people have been mourning the tragedy of April 30th, 1975, when their country became a giant gulag, similar to those of the USSR in the 1950s and 1960s. Following the liberation of South Vietnam, quote-unquote liberation, nearly 500,000, 500,000 people, of South Vietnamese government workers, military personnel, journalists, writers, priests, former regime, were imprisoned in close to 100 concentration camps, deceptively referred to as re-education camps, where thousands died from exhaustion, abuse, and torture. The average length of detention with forced labor was 8 to 10 years, but the longest serving prisoner, Mr. Nguyễn, was only recently released after 37 years in prison. The injustice suffered by Nelson Mandela almost pales in comparison. Meanwhile, outside the camps, any citizen can be beaten, arrested, or imprisoned for any reason just for expressing discontent with a policy of the government or the Communist Party, or for protesting against the expropriation of their land without fair compensation. Hundreds of cases of flagrant violations of fundamental human and civil rights have been exposed by victim and human rights organizations to democratic governments around the world, to the UN, and most recently to the Human Rights Council, where, ironically, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam had just officially taken its seat. The recent unconditional release of some illegally convicted citizens after years of imprisonment was nothing more than an effort to appease international opinion, even as repression intensifies throughout the country. Who could have anticipated the Vietnamese government's harsh crackdown on Vietnamese patriots, demonstrating against China's efforts to expand into Vietnam through a military occupation of the Paracel Islands and a part of the Spratly Islands, which have legally belonged to Vietnam for centuries? Enough is enough. This state terrorism must end. Everywhere, north and south, farmers, city dwellers, laborers, intellectuals, young students, repentant former communist officials, retired generals, and officers of disappointed in the Vietnamese People's Army, Catholic priests, pastors, Buddhist monks, all have joined forces in calling for freedom and democracy. The Vietnamese people are more resolved than ever before to fight and to win back from the communist leadership their sacred right to self-determination, and they are willing to sacrifice everything to do so. They know full well that their freedom can only be won through bloodshed, but they also know that the powerful nations of this world, those mentioned above, must adhere to the commitment they have made in the Paris Accords to respect the Vietnamese people's fundamental national rights and to respect the independence, sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of Vietnam, as well as the South Vietnamese people's right to self-determination. It must be remembered that this commitment was made as part of an international treaty with no statute of limitations. And there is absolutely no justification for allowing it to lapse. This is particularly true given that for decades now, Vietnamese people living both inside and outside the country have been engaged in fierce resistance to the power of the communist invader, openly denouncing the flagrant violations of the Paris Accords by the North Vietnamese communists. All international treaties must be respected. This is a fundamental principle of international law, without which our world would inevitably plunge into chaos and protracted instability, with might makes right, ruling relationships between both individuals and nations. Mr. Prime Minister, knowing that you are among the few world leaders who defend the oppressed, and that you represent one of the signatory countries of the final act of the Paris Accord of 1973, I call upon you, in my capacity as a member of the government of the Republic of Vietnam, which also signed the said act, and on behalf of my martyred people, to encourage your colleagues representing the other signatories to adhere to their country's commitment to assure South Vietnamese people of their right to self-determination. As specified in the accords, this includes free and democratic elections to decide the country's political future, as well as its reunification, its sovereignty, its territorial integrity, and the fundamental national rights of its citizens. With the gratitude of the Vietnamese people, Paris, December 1st, 2014, Mr. Charles Le Dong Quat. I thank you very much for your full attention.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen Pippin, and I'd like to bring a correction to everyone's attention. The letter that was just read is in fact from Le Trong Quoc, Minister of State from the former Republic of South Vietnam. We now have a special treat, and it's my real pleasure to introduce both Professor Bích and Dr. Lam. Both don't really need an introduction by this crowd, but I can say that their expertise in this subject has been instrumental in planning this roundtable. I must mention also that our panelists are members of the organizing committee for this roundtable, and like most of the participants here, they speak 3 or more languages. So I'm thankful that we were able to plan this event in both English and French, and perhaps next time we'll also do it a bit in Vietnamese. So, Professor Bích, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lepos. Honorable Thanh Hải, Honorable Senators Mang and Vuphong,
Mr. David Kuhnbuhl. Especially Mr. Kuhnbuhl is an expert on Vietnam. He's been working on that for some 30 more years. Yeah. It is a great honor for me. It is a great honor for me to be here and have a chance to present to you a solution to manage the ongoing conflicts in the South China Sea using the final 1973 Paris Peace Accord in Vietnam. My thanks therefore go to the Honorable Thanh Hải Ngô for arranging and making this occasion possible. First, may I introduce myself. I am Nguyễn Ngọc, Bích, Chairman of the U.S.-based National Congress of Vietnamese Americans. Since October 2010, at a convention held in Westminster, California, I was elected chairman of a task force charged with seeking, among other, a peaceful and legal solution to the ongoing conflicts in the South China Sea. It is in this capacity that I would like to present to you the following. May I also add that present here with me are delegations of former representatives of the Republic of Vietnam, civilian and military orders now in the U.S. and in Canada. Why is a peaceful and legal solution to the ongoing conflicts in the South China Sea important, even to a faraway country like Canada? Canada, as you are well aware, has had a long history of involvement in Vietnam, dating back to at least 1954, when it was part of a tripartite International Control Commission, ICC, to supervise the ceasefire agreement signed in July of that year, which divided Vietnam into two zones and eventually two separate states. Following the 1973 Paris Peace Accord, Canada again was part of the International Commission of Control and Supervision, ICCS, which was supposed to supervise the implementation of that accord. When it realized, however, that North Vietnam was intent on violating the accord and take over the South, Canada withdrew to be replaced by Iran. Following the fall of South Vietnam, that is the Republic of Vietnam, Canada took in as many refugees from that country that we have now, leading to eventually to a current population of nearly 300,000 Vietnamese Canadians. It is clear from the above that Canada has played nothing but a constructive role in the recent history of Vietnam. Vietnamese are, for that matter, extremely grateful to the kindness and generosity of Canada, in which the Canadian Parliament, in particular, can rightly be proud of its role. Today I come before you pleading for a peaceful solution to the conflict-ridden situation in the South China Sea, a solution in which Canada once again could exert its benevolent and beneficent influence, as it was also a signatory power to the International Act of March 2, 1973, which guaranteed the correct implementation of the Paris Peace Accord of January 27, 1973. From its very first article, Article 1, the Paris Peace Accord enjoined, and here I quote, the United States and all other countries to respect the independence, sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of Vietnam as recognized by the 1954 Geneva Agreements on Vietnam. End of quote. As the 1954 Geneva Agreements on Vietnam defined the territorial integrity of South Vietnam to include the paracels and Spratly Islands. This is according to Article 4 of the Geneva Agreement. The Chinese occupation of the paracels by force in January 1974 constitutes a clear violation of the Paris Peace Accord, for which the Chinese government stood as one of the guaranteeing power. as per its signing onto the International Act of March 2, 1973, under the signature of its foreign minister at the time, Vuphong. Based on these irrefutable facts, the Republic of Vietnam, that is South Vietnam, a sovereign country from at least 1954 to 1975, recognized at one time by 81 countries and enjoying observer status at the United Nations, can consider itself under occupation by China in the case of the Paracels, and by North Vietnam and the rest of the country. Both the January 1974 Chinese naval action on the Paracels and North Vietnam's subsequent invasion of the South are clear violations of the Paris Peace Accord that should be condemned by the world at large in view of Article 2.4 of the United Nations Charter, which does not recognize occupation by force of another country. As such, it is entitled to reclaim its sovereign rights over the Paracels and Spratly Islands as per the Geneva Agreement of 1954. How? The International Act of March 2nd, 1973 precisely provides in Article 7 the mechanism for doing so. Article 7b says, and here again I quote, "The International Conference on Vietnam shall be reconvened upon a joint request of the government of the United States of America and the government of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam," that is North Vietnam, now called the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, on behalf of the parties signatories of the agreement, or upon a request by 6 or more of the parties to this act. End of quote. As Canada is a party signatory of the agreement, it can, of course, of its own, ask that the United States and Hanoi jointly request the reconvening of the Paris peace talks, which would be the first alternative here, or failing that, ask the 5 other parties signatories to the March 2nd, 1973 agreement join it to demand the resumptions of the talks. The Republic of Vietnam, of course, is more than eager to join such an effort. All it takes is another 4 countries to agree, and we can have the Paris peace talks reconvene to deal with the matter. In such a development, China has no way to back out of its word, as it holds no veto power here, as it would at the United Nations, for instance. I see in the documents assembled here today that many concerns that I have cited has been raised in the Canadian Parliament about the situation in the South China Sea. Honorable Senator Andre Chuck also mentioned the question of Crimea, which has some similarity with the situation here concerning territorial integrity of an occupied country. Only yesterday, the U.S. House of Representatives passed House Resolution 712, urging peaceful solution to the situation in the South China Sea based on international law. This is again what we are trying to seek here today. So in the U.S. Congress, there has passed in July the Senate Resolution 412, and now just yesterday the House Resolution 712, going pretty much along the line of what we are seeking here, a peaceful solution to the conflict in Southeast Asia, respecting international law, respecting the law of the sea, and taking into consideration the interests of all countries concerned. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Bacon. Now we'll proceed to la présentation du Lâm Chấn Thọ, ingénieur avocat.
Bonjour, mesdames, messieurs. Le sénateur Ngọc, sénateur Lang, sénatrice Anticha et l'honorable David Tourgour et l'ami de longue date. Former Congressman Vuphong Professor Bích et Professor Lamiti. Laisse-moi souligner l'importance de la présence du professeur Lamiti. Professeur Lamiti est un spécialiste en propriété intellectuelle et il s'intéresse particulièrement au Trans-Pacific Partnership. Kính thưa quý vị đồng hương, leaders of the Vietnamese communities. All you I have heard is music to my ears, and especially with my friend David Tourgour, who has suggested us not to go on the time on the street, but come to the House of Commons and to voice our concern. And that we're doing today. And allow me to not to read my text. I will refer you to my text in Annex C. It's a very short. And Annex E, you will have all the documentation and all my thoughts in executive summary form. Let me plead the case here as a Canadian citizen, and I will switch in French. Permettez-moi aujourd'hui de vous exposer le point de vue d'un Canadien français, d'un Canadien d'origine vietnamienne en français, pour que vous puissiez saisir tout l'intérêt et les bénéfices pour le Canada d'utiliser l'acte final de la conférence internationale de Paris afin de solutionner les conflits en mer de Chine. Si vous regardez, je n'ai pas besoin de vous dire plus, parce que vous savez, vous connaissez la situation plus que moi, surtout sénateur Lang, vous le connaissez, il faut avoir entendu le rapport de Peter Arthur, directeur général de la Direction générale de l'Asie du Sud-Est et du Sud-Est de l'Océanie et des Affaires étrangères, Commerce et Développement au Canada. Et il est à noter que lors de cet exposé, je vais le lire textuellement, verbatim canadien. We are currently pursuing the most ambitious trade agenda in Canadian history, including with Japan and India, as well as a broad Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiation. Un peu plus loin, tension in the Southeast Asia are reached in new height early last summer. Sovereignty, one part of the South China Sea, is disputed by China, Brunei, Malaysia, Philippines, and Vietnam, as well as Taiwan. The most prominent is the establishing factors, such as resurgent nationalism, are stopping fears. China has become increasingly assertive in pursuing its interests, including through the establishment of an air defense indemnification zone, which covers, in fact, island dispute with Japan. Japan is seeking a more active role of its military in defense and cooperation with allies, through its seek to retain strict limitation on its role. Et un peu plus loin, en bref, les préoccupations et les enjeux liés à la sécurité en Asie sont par leur nature même des enjeux et des préoccupations pour la sécurité du Canada. Et la participation du ministère de la Défense dans cette région dynamique du monde vise à appuyer les objectifs du gouvernement canadien à l'échelle mondiale. Et un peu plus loin, for example, the potential role last spring in the Southeast Asia Sea, the sea lines of communication that fit our own economy, I mean Canada economy, which became under duress. On the North Korean peninsula, stability is threatened by the erratic behavior of the leadership and its pursuit of nuclear weapons, as well as the technology to deliver them. Finally, the region is challenged by piracy, illegal immigration, resource pressures, and natural disaster. Et pour terminer, il dit, notre principal objectif est de favoriser un environnement de sécurité stable dans lequel les litiges sont résolus selon les normes et les lois internationales. mais une contribution à la sécurité régionale requiert la mise au point d'une stratégie exhaustive. Et notre présence aujourd'hui a pour but de vous amener à la table une réflexion sur une façon de résoudre les conflits en mer de Chine en utilisant une base légale. Alors, comme vous avez vu, les belligérants sortis sont la Chine, le Vietnam, les Philippines, Taïwan, Malaisie, Brunei, Corée, Japon. Et les intéressés directs ou indirects sont les États-Unis, le Japon, le Corée, le Canada. Parce que le Canada veut faire partie du TPP. C'est quoi ici les sujets de discorde? D'abord, la propriété des îles. Deuxièmement, les frontières maritimes et le plateau continental. Les bénéficiaires d'un règlement pacifique sont les pays membres du TPP, dont le Canada. Et les bénéfices pour le Canada, c'est le commerce international, le leadership reconnu pour la paix du monde. Comme il s'agit d'une victoire pour le Canada lors de la guerre contre l'apartheid qui a été menée par M. Feynman, représentant le Canada. C'est un succès. Et le Canada est toujours retenu comme un leader pour le droit de l'homme. Et dans ce sens-là, ce que nous amenons aujourd'hui vous permet de réaliser les deux objectifs. Le premier, c'est de régler les litiges, et le deuxième, c'est de prendre en considération les droits de l'homme au Vietnam. C'est quoi le problème à solutionner? La Chine, actuellement, comme vous savez tous, réclame 80% de la mer de Chine. Et il envahit les îles qui appartenaient à des pays limitrophes. Mais le pire problème, c'est qu'il ne veut pas négocier unilatéralement. Il veut négocier unilatéralement. C'est-à-dire, il veut utiliser ce que Nixon a déjà décrit dans son livre Victory Without War. Et à la guerre, la victoire sans guerre. C'est-à-dire, il y a trois conditions qu'il veut utiliser. La déterrence, la compétition et la négociation. D'abord, ils menacent les gens. Puis là, ils essaient de leur présenter un enjeu. Et après ça, ils vont s'asseoir pour négocier. Mais dans ce cas-là, les autres pays le savent et ne veulent pas des négociations unilatérales. Le problème, c'est comment emmener la Chine à l'étape de négociation. C'est ça le problème. Alors, permettez-moi de vous suggérer une façon. Normalement, lorsqu'il y a des conflits, internationalement, il y a trois façons de le régler. La convocation de la Commission de sécurité de l'ONU. Mais le problème, c'est que la Chine est un membre permanent. Étant membre permanent, elle a un double veto. Et en ayant un double veto, la question ne sera jamais débattue. Deuxièmement, si on l'amène devant le tribunal de la Haye pour régler, le tribunal de la Haye, le principe veut qu'il faut que ça soit volontaire. Maintenant, il reste une autre façon, c'est le tribunal de la mer, qui a été créé par l'Anglo. L'Anglo, c'est United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Mais là encore, la Chine s'échappe en utilisant l'article 298. C'est quoi l'article 298 de l'Anglo? L'article 298 de l'Anglo dit la chose suivante. Avant toute ratification, un pays qui ne veut pas soumettre à un tribunal peut faire une déclaration. Et en faisant la déclaration, il échappe ainsi qu'on l'entraîne devant le tribunal, n'importe quel tribunal. Alors les Philippines ont essayé. Ils ont essayé d'amener la Chine devant le tribunal de la Haye, la Chine a refusé. Et là, actuellement, comme le tribunal de la mer, qui est formé selon l'Anglo, peut permettre une procédure ex parte. Une procédure ex parte, c'est-à-dire le tribunal peut décider sans la présence des belligérants. Alors, les Philippines essayent d'utiliser ce mécanisme, sauf que la Chine disait, avec un certain succès, une certaine base légale, c'est que j'ai utilisé l'article 298, je ne veux pas me soumettre à un tel mécanisme. Alors, on est devant un dead end. Comment maintenant l'amener devant, l'amener, disons plutôt, à participer à une table de négociation? Alors il y a un mécanisme. Le mécanisme, je veux vous référer à l'annexe D et à l'annexe E, surtout à l'annexe E. Vous avez la loi qui constitue la base légale. Alors, si vous allez à la page 408, c'est-à-dire la troisième, la deuxième page, au verso, vous allez voir l'article 7. Je vais le lire en anglais. 7A. In the event of a violation of the agreement or protocol which threaten the peace, the independence, sovereignty, unity, or territorial integrity of Vietnam, or the right of the South Vietnamese people of self-determination, the parties signatory to the agreement and the protocol shall either individually or jointly consent with the other party to this act with a view to determining necessary remedial measures. B. The International Conference on Vietnam shall be reconvened upon a joint request by the government of the United States of America, the government of Democratic Vietnam, or on behalf of the parties signatory to the agreement, or upon the request of 6 or more of the parties to this act. And then in the next page, you have all the signatories. And you see Canada is one of the signatories. So, if Canada wants, Canada can use provision 7B and start interest the other signatory to reconvene the conference, the International Conference on Vietnam. And China is a signatory. But China has no veto according to this act. It's an international act. Why is it an international act? Because it has been registered by the United States on the 13th of May 1974. Therefore, it's an international treaty tying everybody. And China have no veto. So if we reconvene this conference, China have no way to escape. China have to attend. And we can invite other parties. Why? Because if you take provision 5 of the same act, allow me to have a if you take provision 5 and if you read it, it says that if there is other party who are involved in the dispute, we can invite them. Who are they? We have Taiwan. Why? Because Taiwan occupies one of the islands named Itabutu. It's the biggest island of the Spratly Island. And then, if we want, we can invite Taiwan. Who? The Philippines. If you remark, the Philippines is not a signatory, and Taiwan is not a signatory. But we will use the provision 5 to invite them, because two of them, Taiwan and the Philippines, each of them occupies certain island belonging or claimed by Vietnam. So it's part of the dispute, and we can, by provision 5, invite them to the table of negotiation. Who? Malaysia. The same problem. Malaysia occupies certain of the island. Therefore, we can invite Malaysia. And Brunei too. and Indonesia. But Indonesia is a signatory. Therefore, if you reconvene the International Conference on Vietnam, you will have all the belligerent roundtable. And Canada is a master in using legal base mixed with some diplomacy. And I hope that you will seize the occasion to apply this technique and apply the know-how of Canada to solve international disputes. Therefore, thank you for listening, and I'm very pleased to can talk directly to the person in charge of the security of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Maitre Lam. It's very, very, very interesting presentations. And I think Senator Lang is going to have a lot of things to think. And as the chair of the Security and National Defense and studying in South Asia, and particularly in South China Sea, I think he has a lot of information so that he can write the report and whatever step he can make. According to our schedule, we have now it's 12 o'clock. So in waiting for the presentation or the idea from Professor Mbetira later on, we're going to stop for lunch. And I just noticed that the member, Deepak O'Brien, the Parliament Secretary for the Foreign Affairs, the Minister for Foreign Affairs will be here in about 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes we're going to have lunch. He's going to join us for lunch. And if he can stay later on, he delayed his flight as well for this conference, so I don't know how long he can stay. Basically, I think we're going to stop for lunch and then we will reconvene about 1 o'clock. Thank you.
What happened? Okay.
Hey, Senator. Hey.
I hope that you're enjoying your visit to Ottawa, sir.
Yes, I'm going to try to visit to Canada.
Hey, Royal, how are you? Very good.
This guy likes scarves. You should make sure he gets one of those orange scarves.
My riding the Vietnamese Association would really say it's a good idea. But anyway, I thought I would provide.
Okay, well, thank you for the beautiful wrap lunch a little bit. Before you go, no? Will you stay for lunch? No lunch?
But I would love to.
But there are no.
Do we have the translation?
We have the translation. Yeah, we start at 1 o'clock.
You start at 1 o'clock?
Yeah,
okay.
10 minutes. Good.
Because I want to talk about Dr. Tran, who saved my life.
Saved my life?
In acupuncture.
But you have to tell the people I went to.
Are you staying?
I'm staying, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're staying till 4. Okay, this is the main from Montreal.
Oh, yes, yes. Dr. Tran, I'm going to talk about them today. Yes, wonderful. Do you have a business card? Yes, yes, thank I'm your servant. She wants to take a picture. You want to get in the picture?
Okay, thank you.
Cái này cũng nhẹ, cái thứ hai nó chút.
Vô.
Quay chị.
Between, okay? I need it between. Chào, chào.
Okay, hold on, stop.
Okay.
I want your card.
Oh, go ahead, thank you. You can have it for yours.
Very good. Bravo. I need to borrow one because
you too?
So I would like you to keep that for yourself, okay?
Oh, wonderful.
Please keep it, okay?
Can I keep this too?
Yeah.
Before I start everything, just now you met with the Deepak O'Brien. Deepak O'Brien, he's the Parliament Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he's a specialist of human rights.
Right.
He went to Vietnam in 2006 or 7. I can't remember the year. During that time, we had the discussion whether I follow him with the Governor General to Vietnam. I refused to go. So Deepak O'Brien went to Vietnam. He actually went to Vietnam and went to see Father Lee in prison. That's the request I asked him to do, and he did. And the government also sent him to Saigon to meet the father of Mr. Nguyễn Trung in Saigon. You've known that Father Lee refused to go outside of Vietnam. He said that even though Canada has guaranteed his return back to Vietnam, but he don't trust the Vietnamese communist regime letting him back. So that's the reason why he refused to go, and he still remained in prison. Canada accept to sponsor Father Lee to come to Canada, but he refused to go. That's number one. Number two, before Nguyễn Trung went back to Vietnam in 2006, I introduced Nguyễn Trung to see the Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper. The reason Nguyễn Trung met with the Prime Minister of Canada at that time, because he is going to go back in 2006 to Vietnam. So, if you are the person, you have the high profile relation with some countries, the Prime Minister or the President of some countries, then 90% or 80% when you're going to be arrested, but 90 or 80% you will not be tortured or beaten or whatever. So that's the reason why we introduced Mr. Nguyễn Trung to meet the Prime Minister. Initially, he has been arrested, sent to prison for 6 years, but they released him after 3 years. So Mr. Nguyễn Trung right now is in Saigon. He and we still have a very close contact. He let me know what all the situations in Vietnam and so on and so on. So basically, Nguyễn Trung right now is free, but under the house arrest. Okay. As you know, Father Lee still remains in prison. He doesn't want to go. So basically, I just want to let you know a little bit. And another person who also with the Vietnamese community is MP you have there, the member of the Parliament of the Conservative Party, Mr. Royan Galipo. Mr. Galipo is in my writing. His writing is Orleans, and I'm supposed to live in Orleans too, so I'm one of his members. So he has to, in order to have my vote, he has to do something. So, but we are very good friends. I met member of the Parliament, Royan Galipo, by what, 6-7 years now? Since he was elected as the member of the Parliament through the elected workers. And since then we've been very close. He has a very nice story to tell you. Why he's here. Why he's able to be here. And still sit there. He will let you know story. And Mr. Galipo, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Senator No. And so Senator No has just explained to you that I am his servant. So I will respect his exhortation. I will not speak more for 5 minutes. And I honor Senator No for being a member of the upper house. I'm just a member of the lower house. He's a senator, I'm a commoner. Like our friend David Kilgore there, who was a commoner for 1,000 years. And, the people voted for David Kilgore whether he was a candidate for the Conservative Party or the Liberal Party. It didn't matter. They voted him because he deserved the trust. And he works very hard in the gym too. Now, I wanted to share with you a story, and I thank you. I thank you for being here. I thank you for taking possession of this Parliament building because you are the landlords here. People like Senator No and me, we're just tenants here. Temporary tenants, in my case. And so, but you're the landlords. Take advantage of it. Make sure that your meetings here leave a legacy. I want to tell you about the legacy of a very, very productive Canadian who suffered a lot of trauma at the hands of the Viet Cong. I speak of Dr. Alexander Tran. Dr. Alexander Tran is an acupuncturist here in Canada. And his clinic is on Wellington Street West here in Ottawa. I was introduced to him on December 12th of 2013. And when I walked into his clinic, I was bent over on 2 canes like this, and I could hardly walk. And I was not impressed with his clinic. I thought it's a circus here. And then I looked around and I saw people in a state of undress or half-dressed, and I thought, what about my dignity? And then I thought, everybody here is sick. What am I going to catch? And then I listened for coughs. Stay away from people that cough. I didn't hear coughing. I heard people sharing their stories of hope. And so I calmed down. Then he came to see me. He said, you have kidney problems. I said, how do you know? He said, the freckles on your hands. I said, yes, sir, I have kidney problems. He said, in 5 weeks, no, he said, in 6 weeks, no canes. In 8 weeks, no dialysis. I said, how do you know about my dialysis? He said, you already admit you have kidney problems. Your kidney problems are bad enough, you can't walk. You're having dialysis. I said, yes, doctor, I'm having dialysis 8 hours a day, every day. He said, 6 weeks, no canes. 8 weeks, no dialysis. I had my first treatment that day. You know where it tickles under your feet? He planted needles there. So he's a mean bastard. And so, but those needles connected straight to my kidneys. He had kidneys on my back and all that. 5 weeks later, I hung up my canes. I felt like hanging them up in his clinic. 6 weeks later, I was carrying my own bags. 7 weeks later, the nephrologist at the hospital said, we don't need dialysis anymore. So the permanent catheter I had in my jugular vein here was removed. And my blood tests continue to improve. And my last blood test was 10 days ago. And everything about the blood was either normal or perfect.
Wow. Congratulations.
And I give the credit to the skill and perseverance of Dr. Tran. The lesson here is this. In Asia, they are not against conventional Western medicine, but they have integrated conventional Western medicine with traditional Eastern medicine. Here in Canada, we are a bunch of snobs, and we only believe in conventional Western medicine. And I really think that Canadians would be better served with the integration of Eastern and Western medicine, and probably the taxpayers would save money too. So thank you very much. I see that it's 4.5 minutes now. And, continue your good work. And those of you that have wrinkles, I'm going to give you a cure for wrinkles. Singing. Sing. It'll help you breathe. It's good for my ears to hear you sing. It's good for your soul, and it's also a good cure for wrinkles. Thank you.
Thank you, Royal. Thank you very much. And if you have time, you can stay with us. But I know you have other activities. I know.
And after that's over, I don't mind coming back.
Thank you. Because every MPs, normally on Friday, they are on house duty, which means they have to stay in the Parliament until the Parliament rise. So it depends the vote. Sometimes 2, 3, sometimes 4, 5, sometimes 9 o'clock. Like Monday, I will be here till 9 o'clock. David.
Well, we're delighted you're better. As you're leaving, you might speak to Vuphong, who's the partner who acts for the Canadian Medical Association. I'm joking, of course.
She's also my employer. She lives in Orleans. By the way, while I'm here, I know that 20% of everybody that works here lives in Orleans, and 100% of the people who work here work side by side with somebody that lives in Orleans, and this has an impact on my behavior here. And so, and now it is 3,239 days, and so so the longer I stay here, the more I learn how to be modest.
Thank you.
All right, now we come to the roundtable discussions. Before I start, I would like to invite Mr. Nguyen. I call him VN, not Nguyen, because I met him in California. Every time I went to California, I have to go to the television network with him. Every single time. So, Mr. Nguyen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Permettez-moi que je parle en vietnamien avec à travers mas nous meilleur mais
90 million Vietnamese people and 3 million Vietnamese refugees can understand that Vietnam, la République du Vietnam est en vie. Second, that Canada est toujours un bon allié au peuple du Vietnam. After that, I will speak in
Okay. Mr. Ant, for 1 second. Because he's speaking Vietnamese, I don't think we need the. Do we need the translations?
Yes, sure.
Mr. Ngọc, you do the translation for us?
Yeah, he
I
will.
do the translations.
Okay, thank you. So you do the English?
English, sir.
You do English, so you do the translation only in French. Thank you very much.
Dạ, kính thưa quý vị,
Ladies and gentlemen,
tôi là nhà báo Huy Anh, tức là cựu dân biểu Việt Nam Cộng hòa.
myself, I would like to introduce myself. I'm a former congressman of the Republic of Vietnam.
Tôi là một cái người tị nạn chính trị, đương sống ở tại Hoa Kỳ và làm nghề báo chí.
I am a political refugee now living in the United States and working in the field of journalism.
Tôi viết cho báo về bình luận 4 bài một tuần về tình hình Việt Nam mà thôi.
I contribute my articles to the Viet Nam magazines 4 times a week.
Và tôi là anchor program host cho nhiều cái chương trình của truyền hình ở tại California.
And I also an anchor for many TV programs in South California.
Sở dĩ mà chúng tôi có đôi lời tự giới thiệu về mình. Tiếng Pháp nó hỏi le moi stable, nhưng mà tôi phải nói để cho quý vị thấy rằng chúng tôi theo dõi tình hình Việt Nam rất là nhiều.
The reason I have to talk about myself, even though in French they say that the self is always detestable, but I would like to know you to know that how involved I am in the work of the Vietnamese community.
Hồi sáng tới giờ do cái sự điều hợp của Thượng nghị sĩ Ngô Thanh Hải, chúng ta đã nghe, đã thấy rõ ràng có hai cái sự thật này.
For the whole morning, under the chairmanship of Senator Ngô Thanh Hải, we have seen 2 salient facts that come into view.
Trung Quốc là một nước đã tham gia trong cái Hiệp định Paris năm 1973.
China was a signatory of the Paris Accord in 1973.
Và Trung Quốc là cái nước đã vi phạm một cách trầm trọng cái hiệp ước đó.
But China itself is a country that has seriously violated the very accord that is put the signature on.
Họ đã đánh chiếm Hoàng Sa, Trường Sa của Việt Nam năm 1974.
And they have invaded and taken over the Paracel Island and the Spratly Island of Vietnam.
Và Cộng sản Bắc Việt đã dùng lực lượng quân sự cưỡng chiếm Việt Nam Cộng Hòa vào năm 1975.
And the Vietnamese Communist has taken by force South Vietnam in 1975.
Và quốc gia dân tộc Việt Nam 39 năm rồi sống trong cái gọng kềm của Cộng sản.
And the whole nations of the Vietnam for the last 39 years have lived under the oppression of the Vietnamese Communists.
Chúng tôi tham gia nhiều cái cuộc vận động quốc tế để đấu tranh cho tự do, dân chủ, nhân quyền Việt Nam, nhiều cái cuộc họp.
We have taken part in many international movements to fight for the freedom and the human rights of the people in Vietnam.
Đây là lần đầu tiên chúng tôi thấy Quốc hội Thượng nghị viện Canada đã làm hành động hết sức là cụ thể và hữu hiệu để mà giúp cho
90 triệu đồng bào Việt Nam về nhân quyền cũng như về an toàn lãnh thổ.
And this is the very first time that I have seen that the Parliament of Canada has taken very specific and clear action to help the 90 million people who are living in Vietnam.
Thay mặt cho những người dân biểu và nghị sĩ Việt Nam không có mặt ở đây, thưa với quý vị, tôi xin kính cẩn gửi lời cảm ơn Thượng nghị sĩ Ngô Thanh Hải của Canada.
So on behalf of my colleagues, I want to extend my thanks and appreciation to Senator Ngô Thanh Hải.
Và chúng tôi xin thay mặt cho đồng bào chúng tôi 90 triệu trong nước cũng như 3 triệu đương di tản tị nạn chính trị ở nước ngoài.
And also on behalf of the 90 millions of my compatriots and also the 3 millions of Vietnamese living overseas.
Xin trân trọng cảm ơn Canada và xin Canada với tư cách là một thành viên của Hiệp định Paris 1973.
And on behalf of those people, we extend our thanks to Canada, and we have a special request to put to Canada as a signatory of the 1973 Paris Accord.
Xin Canada lấy cái tư cách là một thành viên trong cái ký hiệp định đó, vận động tái hợp lại cái hiệp định Paris năm 1973.
In its capacity as one of the signatories of the 1973 Accord, we would like to request Canada to take the leading role to ask for the reconvention of the conference on the Paris Accord.
Để bảo vệ cái tinh thần luật pháp quốc tế và cái tinh thần của hiệp ước mà Canada và mười mấy nước kia đã ký.
And that is to protect the legality of the international agreements and also to ask the signatories to the accords to respect the clauses and the conditions in the accord.
Và giúp cho 90 triệu đồng bào người Việt từng là đồng minh của Canada được tự do, dân chủ, nhân quyền và về an toàn lãnh thổ.
And that would help the 90 million of Vietnamese people who have been friends and allies of Canada to regain their freedom and their dignity and the territorial integrity of the country.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Now we start the roundtable discussion. What I suggest we to do is each member of delegations should express themselves or give their opinions 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes to contribute to the discussions. If you need longer, you let me know because this is open discussion. So, but if you have the risk, I would like to have a brief comments of every one of you attending in this conference. Because at the end, I think the organizing committee, they will have some sort of like brief summary or resolutions of the day in order to summarize all the ideas and suggestions from this round table. So be prepared, be ready, because I'm going to call upon you, each one of you, to say a few words. If you don't want to express yourself, to have the contribution of the discussion, you let me know that I'll just go to the next person. Okay? All right. Now I think the next person I would like to call upon is, I think, Professor Liberty from McGill University.
Thank you. Thank you. It is an honor to be here with you today, and I thank Lâm Chấn Thọ for inviting me to participate. I teach an intellectual property in a law faculty in Canada, and property in the law faculty in Canada. I've been doing that for almost 20 years. So this kind of conference is somewhat beside my area of professional interest, although I must say this is an area of personal interest from the time I was a child. I was a young child. I was following the Vietnam War very closely. I was very happy in 1973 when the Paris Peace Agreements were published by Le Docteau and Henry Kissinger, and I was very sad at the subsequent events leading up to 1975, which was, I think it's fair to say, tragedy, and the reaction of the United States in particular to the period between 1973 and 1975 for particular political reasons, domestic political reasons in the United States. It was my first lesson in realpolitik, and I learned a great deal from watching that experience, sadly. I'm here to talk about one aspect of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which again is tangential to what is happening in the South China Sea, but is still important to realize. Trade agreements are, I think, generally perceived to be good things. What could be bad about agreements that increase trade amongst nations, going all the way back to David Ricardo and his theories about comparative advantage? If it makes everybody better off, why not? And I generally agree with that. Of course, intellectual property is important to these trade agreements because intellectual resources are one of the, I suppose, emerging areas of importance as far as resources generally go. So IP is important, copyright, patent, trademark, etc. There is a problematic link between trade agreements and intellectual property agreements that isn't always clear, and we just need to be careful. It's not necessarily wrong to link intellectual property to trade agreements. We just have to be careful how we do it and then what we do. So what do I mean by how we do it? We need to be very careful when multilateral trade agreements are negotiated in secret. It is too easy for a country such as Canada to do what one American colleague has called policy laundering. That is, put in an international agreement what one couldn't put in a domestic agreement. The Conservative government in Canada proposed and passed copyright legislation in 2012. Much of it was very, very good, and a number of Canadian intellectual property academics, myself included, lauded the government for those particular provisions in the Canadian Copyright Act in 2012. The TPP may very well undermine the provisions as they have been leaked from time to time. May very well undermine those very copyright provisions that the same government put into place, again with accolades, within the period of a few years. And this is something that I think governments need to be careful not to do, because it is not transparent and ultimately not democratic. I can give examples later, but if anyone asks, but for the time being, because it's tangential to what we're actually doing, we have to be careful. It's okay to negotiate some treaties in secret. Ending a conflict, for example, may very well require secret negotiations. But there isn't any reason, prima facie, to negotiate multilateral trade agreements in secret, or at least completely in secret. Perhaps there are times when parts of it need to be done in secret, but in general, we need to respect the ability of actors to be informed and to give informed opinions about what is happening in these various processes. So, in the areas of copyright, patent, privacy rights, areas the TPP will in its final form, take within its ambit, we need to ask serious questions, and we haven't been able to ask those questions but for leaks, etc. We shouldn't have to rely on leaks to have opinions and to help influence certain political processes which are very important to us. That being said, the TPP may be one of the positive catalysts to help drive a solution in the South China Sea. And for that, it may very well end up being a good thing. If it inspires governments in order to protect these trade lines that have been opened up, to therefore push for solutions with respect to the islands in the South China Sea, with respect to respecting territorial integrity, with respect to respecting the right to self-determination of the South Vietnamese people. All that may very, very well be a good thing.
Thank you, Professor. Now, I would like to call upon Ms. Phần. She's also a lawyer. She should have some idea to follow up, Professor. Ms. Vuphong, you have the floor.
Thank you, merci. Professor,
They're getting the whole pictures. Everybody just trying to get the whole pictures. Everybody. Yeah, if not, we can move back. All right. So, here, let me go in the back.
Sơn hà nguy biên, hận thù đằng đằng, biên thủy dung chuyên.
Buồn dậy non sông diện vang tiếng vỗ cầu, gây oán nghìn thù.
Toàn dân tiên Sơn hà nguy biên, hận thù đằng đằng, nên hòa hay chiến.
Diên hồng tàu lên cùng mình để bao.
Okay, great. Now it's United States. United States. United States. Yeah, that's something like United States.
Tràn lên trên đỉnh núi, ôi thăng long, coi kinh kỳ phân phân, đó vang vang, siêu hát siêu vũ trụ, theo gió bay khắp miền sông núi reo. Lòng dân là hồng nhìn non nước, yêu quê hương, dòng anh hùng nâng cao chí lớn, dòng anh hùng luôn sức chân cường. Ta lên đường lòng hoàng tàu bên lòng nhau, dòng lao không xin thế lên thế.
Over here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, perfect.
Alright?
Yes.
Good. Okay, now open up.
Trong quân nguyên tầm hóa rộn ràng, hành trình bắt xe dần lao.
Xin mời quý vị.
Nước lên hòa hay lên chiến, quyết chiến. Trước lúc nước lên hòa hay lên chiến, quyết chiến. Lo chiến tranh, hy sinh. Lo chiến tranh, hy sinh.
đời ngày sau tan lửa khói. Mẹ Việt Nam đau từng cơn xót dạ nhìn đời, người lầm than đói khổ nghèo nàn, kẻ quyền uy giàu sang dối gian. Giờ đây Việt Nam còn ai đã mất, giặc tàu ngang tàn trên quê hương ta. Hoàng Trường Sa đã bao người dân vô tội, chết ngập ngùi vì tay súng giặc Ngọc. Là một người con dân Việt Nam, lòng nào làm ngơ trước ngoài xăm, người người cùng nhau đứng lên đáp lời sống. Đừng mọi người đi chẳng để chi, già trẻ gái trai giơ cao tay, chống quân xâm lược, chống kẻ nhũ nhược, ban nước Việt Nam. Việt Nam ơi, thời gian quá nửa đời người, ta đã tỏ tường rồi. Ôi cuộc đời ngày sau tan lửa khói. Mẹ Việt Nam đau từng cơn xót dạ nhìn đời, người lầm than đói khổ nghèo nàn, kẻ quyền uy giàu sang dối gian. Việt Nam còn hay đã mất, giặc tàu ngang tàn trên quê hương ta. Hoàng Trường Sa đã bao người dân vô tội, chết ngập ngùi vì tay súng giặc Ngọc. Là một người con dân Việt Nam, lòng nào làm ngơ trước ngoài xăm, người người cùng nhau đứng lên đáp lời sống. Từng đoàn người đi chẳng hề chi, già trẻ gái trai giơ cao tay, chống quân xâm lược, chống kẻ nhu nhược, ban nước Việt Nam.
Một cái tay đưa lên, hàng ngàn cái tay đưa lên, hàng vạn cái tay đưa lên, quyết đấu tranh trong một nền hòa bình công chính, đập phá tan hùng toàn, đấu hàng cái quân xâm lăng, hòa bình phải trong vinh quang, đến công lao mà sự hùng anh. Nào đứng bên nhau, nào cùng sát vai bên nhau, thề nguyện với vùng tay cao, quyết đấu tranh đến khi nào đạt thành mong ước. Phần nước trong tay ta là quyền của quân dân ta, tình đoàn kết quê hương ta, chân âm mưu chiến thắng thêm sơn hà. Quyết chiến, thề quyết chiến, quyết chiến, quyền không cần hòa bình đến tôi, chẳng liệt ngồi chung với mặt nước bóng nổ. Quyết chiến, thề quyết chiến, quyết chiến, đánh cho cùng dù mình phải chết, để mà ngày về xong mà chúng ta sống có. Phần nước đang vươn lên, hàng ngàn chiến công chưa quên, hào mạn sát quân vòng nô, đã chứng minh cho sức mạnh hào hùng quân dân, thế chưa bao lùi chân. Ngồi cùng với quân xâm lăng, ta thà chết chứ không hề lui, quyết không hề phản bội quê hương. Ta thà chết chứ không hề lui, quyết không hề phản bội quê hương. Một cái tay đưa lên, hàng ngàn cái tay đưa lên, hàng vạn cái tay đưa lên, quyết đấu tranh cho một nền hòa bình công chính, đập phá tan hùng toàn, đấu hàng cái quân xâm lăng. Hòa bình phải trong minh quang, lên công lao mà một sự hùng anh. Nào đứng lên bên nhau, nào cùng sát vai bên nhau, thề nguyện với vùng tay cao, quyết đấu tranh đến khi nào đạt thành mong ước. Quân nước trong tay ta là quyền của quân dân ta, tình đoàn cái quê hương ta, chân âm mưu trên các thềm sơn hà. Quyết chiến, thế quyết chiến, quyết thao gần hòa bình đem tôi, chẳng để hiện ngôi chung quân bắc nước bóng đô. Quyết chiến, thế quyết chiến, đánh cho không dù mình phải chết, để mai này về sau cho ta sống to. Phần nước đang vươn lên, hàng ngàn chiến công chưa quên, hàng vạn xa quân vong nô đã chứng minh cho sức mạnh hào hùng quân dân.